Hi, this is Dave Clarke and you listen to FBI Radio 94.5 FM, downtown Sydney.
Thanks for joining me on the show tonight, Dave.
It's fine, cool.
Now in my hands, I have the new album, Devil's Advocate. Has this project been a while coming, as in the past we've had mainly singles from you?
It sort of has been a while coming for a variety of different reasons, which probably a lot of your listeners will know about. From signing the deal and actually finishing the album, it sort of took about 2 years, but it's probably about 18 months of recording time, because I had a couple of months off in the summer because it's just too hot over here to record, and I don't really like making techno or hard music in the summer anyway. It just doesn't feel right. But it took about 18 months from signature of contract to actually record it.
Well, you've worked with some fresh new acts on the album. How did the collaboration with Chicks on Speed come about for the track What Was Her Name?
The collaboration came about because I wanted to work with a couple of different people on the album to give it a little bit of flavour, as opposed to just doing a load of instrumental tracks or just sampling people. I wanted to actually collaborate and have a little bit of fun with people in the studio. And originally that track was supposed to be for Tiga, but the poor guy couldn't come up with anything, which was a shame, because I actually did that track on one of my birthdays, and he said, "Oh yeah, you should always do a track on your birthday, it's always got good omens." So I did that particular instrumental on my birthday, but Tigger tried, but he couldn't come up with anything. And then we sort of had the idea of using Chicks, and I forgot that I met them a long time ago and approached them, and they were very, very up for it. And we had a good time in the studio. They did that particular track as it was an instrumental, and then fitted vocals on top of it, and we did that in 3 takes. And then with Disgracelands, we wrote a new track and just jammed it in the studio. But it's good fun to have people in the studio. It sort of makes life a little bit more interesting and varied.
Way of Life was the first single, and the original version sounds in a way that you're going back to your early days with the production sound from the Red series 10 years ago. Yeah,
I just wanted to do that one last time, just have a little bit of fun with it. And actually put like a really old school house vocal on top of it, courtesy of Rush. I just got really fed up with people sampling the old Red series back in the day when I had the misfortune of being signed to a crooked label called Bush, and not being able to reply to those if necessary, and so I felt a little bit hands tied behind my back. So I just decided to have one last crack at that whole Red sound, and it's a bit tongue-in-cheek as well, really. It's not to be taken too seriously, but it's got a good vibe to it, and it's gone down really, really well in clubs across the whole of Europe that I played it out to, and a lot of good response from a variety of DJs that I respect as well.
Techno did some great remixes of Way of Life. Who else do you have in mind for future remixes of your tracks, and who is catching your attention musically at the moment?
My old friend Hell, we're going to do a remix swap. Hopefully, if we can get it together for time-wise, because we're both, very busy. He spends a lot of time abroad, and I spend a lot of time feet not touching the ground. But hopefully, we're going to do a remix swap. I'm going to hopefully do Let No Man Jack off his album, and we're not sure of what track off my album, possibly Dirtbox. I think that's the one that will suit him most. There's going to be a James Ruskin remix of Just Ride coming out, and there's a couple of remixes of What Was Her Name, which I really, really do like, which are available as free download off my own website, daveclarke.com. They're really inventive. There's a whole heap of remixes coming out. Some very interesting new people. I'm really, really chuffed with the LFO mix of What Was Her Name. I think it's really, really strong. I wish there was a vocal version of it, but hey, you can't always have everything. But it's a really great remix. It's good to be remixed by people that you really, really respect.
Well, the LFO mix is great. A little hard to place in a DJ set, though. I mean, the tempo is way up there.
Yeah, I know. It's quite weird because, I don't often play my own records in my set because I feel weird about it. And sometimes I play What Was Her Name, the original, and then I think, fuck me, that's really, really fast. And I was thinking, oh shit, I better slow it down a little bit. I normally start it in at -2, which I never do. Normally everything's, normally the same sort of pitch. And then with the LFO mix, that's even faster, I think. And it's like, whoa, but it works, sometimes tempo is led by the actual, sonic texture inside the track as opposed to, the other way around. And I just think it fits well. It's very, very punchy. It's very, very powerful, and I'm very pleased with that particular remix.
Well, Black Strobe also did a mix of Way of Life. What do you think of their production, and are you into the electro clash techno hybrid that they've created?
Honestly, I'm not really into that mix. So that's going to happen though, you know. Sometimes that's going to happen where you get a remix in which you personally can't see, and other people can. I mean, a lot of other people really, really like it. So from that point of view, you know, it's done a good job. But on a personal level, I'm not going to say I dislike it, because I don't dislike it, but I don't really feel it. It's like a totally different thing for me. I mean, like the LFO mix, I really feel. I vibe off it, but the Black Strobe one, it's just like, I think it's a sound for other people, not necessarily for me.
So when it comes to working out who's going to remix your singles, do you pick who you'd like, or is it a record company decision, since the Black Strobe mix isn't your cup of tea?
Yeah, I mean, I have 100% creative control in that aspect. But at the same time, just because you got 100% creative control doesn't mean that you should veto anything just for the sake that you can, because there's always a different approach, a different reasoning, and you should listen to everyone and then come to a democratic decision. And I think that's a grown-up way of doing it, and that's what we did with you know, the album, with the track listing, because there's some other tracks that I've done that aren't on that album, but I think they're on the Japanese album. So it's more of a democratic decision between yourself, your manager, and your record label, and you listen to everyone's point of view and try not to be so artistic that you just go, well, it's my artistic decision and sod all of you, because that's not very grown up. And then you know, and the thing is, like, if I had the decision for what tracks went on the album, I don't think I would have had Just Ride on that album, and a lot of people like Just Ride. So it goes to show that, you know, if you listen to other people, take on board what they say, then you can actually, you know, come to some good decisions in the end, you know, and that's what happens.
The last visit to Sydney was for the big day out a couple of years ago. How did you find playing in the Boiler Room?
I'm trying to remember the Sydney Boiler Room. All I remember is I remember at some point in Australia doing like a live television interview, and I was forgetting. I was still in English time in my head, even though it was daylight around it. Jet lag does that to you sometimes. And I was doing an interview, and it's for live television. It's for children's television, I think it was, which was quite funny. And I don't know if this is live, but I'm about to swear, so get ready with your profanity delay. But they're sort of asking questions. So, Dave, what was the most expensive album that you bought? And I was trying to think, what's the most expensive album that I bought? I went, oh yeah, it's a red vinyl copy of Jimi Hendrix, Fucked Him in the Arse. And they looked at me like completely as if their grandmother had died or something, like, or I've just laid a really bad fart down. They just looked at me, oh my God, he said this live on television. And for some reason they sort of like said, so what was it called again? I think that was, and of course at that time I still didn't realise that it was like for children's television or what time it was. I went, yeah, it's Jimi Hendrix, Fucked Him in the Arse, it's on red vinyl, it cost me like £60 or something. And they looked at me again, and I think, oh shit. I can't remember the Boiler Room too well in Sydney, because Big Day Out was quite a big tour. Yeah, no, it was a really, really, the air conditioning was working really well that day, and it was like, they did have really cool lights, and I think, if I remember, there was like a top area where you can walk around the whole of the crowd so you can get a vibe of it without actually being in the crowd as well. That was good. I think for me, my favourite sort of like sideshow was actually Sydney as well, because I played in a place which was really, really small, but had the most tremendous bass cabinet set up, and but it was an amazing sound system and really friendly.
How do you think promoters should go about building the techno scene and overcoming the house saturation that's here in Sydney?
I mean, there's actually nothing wrong with house music. It's a far lot better than trance music. If you had trance saturation, I'd give you guys no hope whatsoever. But there's nothing wrong with, you know, good quality vocal house and good quality deep house in my humble view. But, you know, certain cities have certain vibes, and I don't know if you can necessarily change those vibes. I mean, it's all to do with education and proliferation and all that sort of thing. And, you know, if that's not been the case in Sydney, as it is with a lot of, you know, sort of like, not capital cities, because obviously Canberra's your capital, but really Sydney's seen as the capital for a lot of people. You know, then that sort of happens in that sort of environment, and then you find that your second or third or fourth city are really, really passionate about it. It's the same all over the world in a way, because like you go to Italy, whereas Rome, techno isn't that big, and then you go to Napoli and techno's massive there. And in some ways it's actually easier for people that enjoy techno, because when you have, like, it's what I call capital city syndrome, which is this sort of element of, hey, it's not so cool, I've done this and I've done that, and it's sort of a very snobby attitude which kind of pretends that it's more up its own arse than it really is. And that happens a lot in capital cities, and I think maybe that's what's happened with Sydney, but at least it's house and not trance. And I think there'll always be people that like techno in Sydney. I mean, you've got some good record shops there as far as I remember, and way back in the day, I remember getting a lot of, not emails because they weren't around then, but faxes and stuff from people in Sydney trying to get hold of records. When I was working in a record shop called Jelly Jam back in the 90s. So there's definitely people that like it in Sydney. It's just up to them to build a scene, I suppose, because it's very difficult for an international DJ to come to a place where there might not be a techno scene and try and build one himself or herself, because you got to be living there to build a scene. And for me, my favourite place in Australia has to be Melbourne, to be honest, because I just feel so comfortable there. And the scene's really, really nice. But saying that, the best sideshow gig that I did on Big Day Out was in Sydney, so, it's different all the time.
Okay, so where are your favourite places to play around the world?
I would have to say, when I'm talking about Big Day Out, I had a real hankering to get down to New Zealand. It's like two places I wanted to get to in the world was New Zealand and Iceland, and I did them both that year, and I was really happy. New Zealand I found really interesting just to get there, but I mean, like, for places playing around the world, this weekend I'm playing in Paris and Brussels, and both clubs I've been playing for probably about 8 or 9 years now. And I love going there. I mean, the Fuse Club is my favourite club in the whole world. I do impromptu second sets sometimes upstairs, whether it's like electro or maybe sometimes like rock sets, in a drunken state after I've done my techno set downstairs. I love playing in Portugal. I love playing in Ireland. There's a whole lot of places where I really do enjoy playing and feel very, very comfortable there. And I'm very lucky to be able to go around the world and just take 2 bags of records and make a living. It's a great living as well.
Well, Dave, thanks for chatting to us, and we'll see you back here in Australia hopefully very soon.